We are going to start with load versus capacity. The purpose of load versus capacity is so you can understand how injury happens. Sheila, with your feet comfortably into your hips and your knees extended, can you reach down as far as you can?
The athlete's hierarchy of needs represents the entire way that we start to view and frame athletic injury.
Palms facing forward. Can you please bring your biceps to your ears? Notice I gave her a target.
We are not looking for just one piece of information, taking that one piece of information and running with it. Very important that we start to look at the whole picture.
It's being shorter, it's being put on passive slack. It's not being stretched.
But keep in mind that if somebody is getting into a sumo and they're still loading in the squat like a power lifter would to perform, not to stay balanced, it's going to be a little different.
Make sure that people's shoulders are going where they should, whether it's handstand push-up, whether it is a pull-up, whether it's pressing overhead. We can stop using the word tight, and when people start using the word tight, we can understand that really all it means is I have to look into what's actually going on.
Somebody who has weakness at end range needs strength at end range.
Is there any pain? Are they missing range of motion? How are they going to best set up their deadlift today? Why should you throw 10 people into an RX workout where they might get hurt?
All of these ratios are going to adapt to any rep scheme. I'm not concerned with their tolerance.
Okay, Active Life Professional Pathway is what you need, starting with the immersion course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We define Turn Pro as the courageous pursuit of one's own fulfillment via personal and professional excellence in service to a worthwhile cause greater than yourself.
Hello, welcome back to the live show. Last week we ran into that snafu where Verizon decided they didn't want to participate.
Oh, that was fun.
And this week they're back. So Mike Bledsoe is going to be joining us momentarily. Remember, if you enjoy this stuff, if you enjoy the live shows, make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're going to get an alert when we do things like this so that you don't miss them in the future. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like it, and throughout this video, feel free to comment, ask questions, let us know you're liking what we're doing, give us ways that you think we may even be able to do it better, and we're going to answer you in real time. So this is participatory as it's going to get. We want your input. Today, we're going to be talking about some soft skill development for coaches and for gym owners. We're going to be talking about how those soft skills, when they're not present, lead to frustration amongst members in the gym, coaches in the gym, ownership in the gym. How it leads to bank accounts that nobody wants to check because we got bills coming and there's no money in the account to pay them. And we're going to talk about how to fix those problems. Larry and I are going to start the conversation, and Mike is going to join us and provide his 2 cents. He's somebody whose opinion on this kind of stuff I've always found refreshing and interesting and unique and valuable. After all that, we're going to take you into the gym, and Larry's going to talk to you about the difference between training at speed as compared to training at less speed with time under tension and tempo when it's important and when it's intentional. We're going to get into tendon issues, how to start to fix those through program design, and anything I didn't talk about that you're going to talk about?
Yeah, we'll figure it out when we get there.
That's how these things happen, oftentimes. So let's start with the thesis. I believe, and I think Larry believes, because he hasn't told me he doesn't yet today, that there are problems that occur in the gym that are frustrating for the gym owner, for the staff, and for the member that could all be solved through effective, safe, clear lines of communication. An example of that would be a member, if you're in a CrossFit gym, let's just talk CrossFit for a moment because I know a lot of you are coming from there. There's a member in your gym who's been snatching for 3 years, and it still looks like he or she is looking to do a good morning and a pass through at the same time with a barbell. You can see that person. You know who I'm talking about. They've been in your gym for 3 years, and you haven't been able to change the way that they move. Ownership walks into the gym and sees that this member, let's call her Sarah today. Sarah is still doing that thing. Really annoying. They go over to coach. Hey, coach, what do we do? By the way, Sarah's doing that snatch.
I've been giving her a couple of cues that she could work on.
Oh, okay. Let's jump to what's going on in the coaches' heads instead of the conversation we would be having in a real gym. Got it. So are those the same cues you've been giving her for 3 years?
Yeah, a little bit different, but yes.
Awesome. So I don't think they're working. You got any other ideas?
I don't.
Why are you working here?
Oh, God, I love this stuff. I like it.
But you don't know how to do the thing.
Yeah, but I want to be able to. I'm sponging a little bit of information. I look at some videos online. They just don't always work.
Got it. I'm really frustrated that I need to continue to teach you how to do these things. I thought I taught you how to do them. I thought you learned them at your level 1, at your level 2, and in all the videos you watch online. I guess I got to think about this. That's the conversation everyone's afraid of. That's the conversation everyone's afraid of. And the reason they're afraid of it is because he's the coach. He doesn't want to have to tell you that he's not confident that he can teach the thing. Mm-hmm. I'm the owner. I want to believe that the team is confident. Now, if I'm a good owner, I also want to hear why aren't you helping her?
I am just not sure how.
Got it. So what do you need to be more confident that you could help her?
I think I probably need a little bit more understanding of why she's moving like this in the first place, despite all the cues I've been giving her, and maybe some more effective cues that I haven't thought of, or some other improved skill or strength work that she could get that I just don't necessarily understand how to identify and then provide.
Great. In our next staff meeting on Wednesday, I'd like to cover coaching the snatch. And what we'll do is we'll go around the room and we'll ask everybody where they have the least confidence. Which area of coaching the snatch would you be most uncomfortable with if an elite weightlifter walked into the gym and it was your job to help them?
Well, I definitely do not feel confident starting that, so I would love to have that conversation.
Great. If we can get gym owners to believe that that's a valuable conversation and coaches to feel safe enough to tell gym owners the truth. I'm a little bit insecure about being able to solve this problem. We can elevate the entire coaching industry because now it's safe to say, I'm not the coach that I think maybe you think that I am and that I may have led you to believe because I was afraid of telling you that I have a lot of learning that I need to and want to do. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that we're going to see that a lot in the part-time coach who's not necessarily interested in a career. I think we'll see it a lot more in the full-time coach who genuinely needs to earn an income from this.
I would agree. I think that the full-time coach who wants and needs to earn an income from this because they've decided this is how they're going to do it and they're going to burn all their other boats, so to speak, depending on their environment and depending on the relationship they have with their owner, the gym owner.
Right. They're not owned by anyone.
They're not owned by anyone. They would probably have to prioritize making sure that their job was secure over revealing all of the ways in which they were vulnerable and didn't know how to do things and didn't know how to be effective.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this is pervasive when it comes to sales, especially. Like, it's one thing to let Sarah in the corner not improve for 3 years. It's another thing to not know how to help her and be expected to go over and sell her the solution to the problem that you don't think you have, which would make you feel sleazy and pushy all at the same time.
So it sounds like we're talking about here at large is making sure that members, coaches, gym owners can all win, both in terms of member results, outcomes, staff, pay, and expertise and credibility, and gym owner profitability and reputation as a gym owner. If the gym owner, because it starts from the top down, is going to create an environment in which staff feel both safe, inspired, and celebrated when they share what they don't understand or don't know, or things that they don't feel they're good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that members would like to feel like they can ask coach to help them solve things that are frustrating them. But if coach isn't going to make the first step and offer, it might not be that comfortable.
Meaning
there's stress in the membership too.
So in other words, a member wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable or assume that they should approach staff about helping them with something that they're not even sure staff wants to or can solve.
Right.
And that staff needs to make the first step towards opening up that conversation.
Always. It's like standing at the bar and waiting for the person you're attracted to walk over to you. Maybe there are other reasons at play, but that didn't happen for me very often.
Yeah, I've done it wrong a lot of times. That doesn't work.
Let's bring Mike Bledsoe in. I know Mike Bledsoe has some unique opinions about gym ownership and coaching as a gym owner yourself back in the day. And was that Memphis, Mike?
Yeah, it was Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah. So first of all, let's introduce our friend Mike in case people don't know him, in case you're crawling off from underneath the rock. Mike effectively, in my opinion, introduced podcasting to the functional fitness world with the Barbell Shrug podcast in what was that, like 1994, Mike?
Early 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it and being like, I don't know what a podcast is, and I'm not going to listen. And here we are in 2021. You were ahead of the game. I hope that's not the same thing with cryptocurrency, because I'm not in on that either. But then you owned a gym. Yeah. You owned a gym. You've coached in gyms. You've been a competitive weightlifter. You've run very successful, and not only for you, but for the clients that you work with, masterminds, coaching, consulting businesses. And I just have an immense amount of respect for the way that you think, because it ends up with people making a bunch of money as a byproduct of changing the way that they think about money and service and abundance and meaning and purpose and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm excited to have you on here to talk about it today.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it is, the money ends up being a byproduct of all these other behaviors and ways of thinking and putting our attention there. Of course, when we're marketing the services, it's like make more money. But, when someone gets into the program, they find out real quick we're going to be working on a bunch of other stuff that they didn't even know they needed to work on. So I think you're spot on with that. And just listening to what you guys were talking about in regard to the gym owners wanting to provide more value, or a coach wanting to provide more value, but not necessarily knowing how to. One of the things that I find, and I had a conversation with a gym owner yesterday where I asked her what her goals were, and she was talking about adding all this value to the gym. I asked her what her financial goal was. She told me what her financial goal was. And I go, okay, if we reach this financial goal, then you will have the means to create the value for your clients that you want. And then we started talking about pricing. And immediately, all I had to do was point out that, okay, you want to have 200 members and you want to be able to make $25,000 from those members. But what are you charging for your membership?
Is that monthly?
And, yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
I was making sure you were talking about monthly.
Yeah, monthly. Well, she was charging $111 a month. And I go, at 200 members, you won't reach that mark. And I bring that story up because I remember when I had that come to Jesus moment where I realized that I broke myself making my gym as good as I could possibly make it with the amount of money that we had. And I paid myself just enough to get by and all that. And I sat down and I asked myself, what do I actually want to make? What would, fast forward 5 years from now. And I was about 3 years into the process of owning my gym. And I go, I actually want to make this amount of money, and I recognize that I've worked very hard to get more members in my gym, and I can't seem to break 180. So 180 sounds like that's the number. If I'm going to base it off 180 members, how much do I need to be charging? And I reverse engineered how much money I need to be making per member in order to be fulfilled myself and be able to give myself the space, because making enough money gives us the space to be creative, to create more value. If you don't have that, you can't do it. And I reverse engineered it and realized that I was charging maybe $70 too little per member is what I was averaging. And I had to bump it beyond where I wanted to be, because I personally didn't, I grandfathered people into pricing and things like that, but if they were under contract. And yeah, that was a huge turn of events for me. And I see that happening with gym owners as well, is when they start making the money that they were hoping to make when they first got started, or maybe they didn't think about it consciously, but they had a vision of their life that would require them to make a certain amount of revenue. When they start doing that, all of a sudden, all these opportunities for creating more value opens up, and being able to invest time and money and energy into the coaches, where the conversation y'all were just having, being able to invest that time and energy and getting the coaches educated so that your members aren't, doing the good morning pass-throughs.
It's a new movement.
Yeah, I think we should put it. We'll hit up Dave Castro, see if we can get into the games.
Max reps of those would probably be a really, really good workout.
I mean, I did see Jacob Hutton do a 95-pound pass through once. That's the biggest. And I advise him, please never do that again. That's a heavy, it's a heavy pass through. So
I have a question I would love to ask.
Please.
Mike, so when you were describing all of that, I imagined a situation in which if there's something that's rooted in soil, the soil has to be super nutritious for it to grow and then bear fruit. And the stuff has to be there in the soil in order for it to grow. How does any business play this chicken and the egg game of, in order for people to want to come and pay you more money, the value has to be there for them before you have the means to create all the value to give to them?
Yeah. There's a point in every business where you simply have to inject a lot of energy. And so you may not have money, and time may seem scarce, but you've got to change where your focus is at. And so I think that's people think about time and money, but I watch myself do it. And really what dictates how effective I am with my time is how focused I am. So what I find is most people are focused on things that are not contributing to adding value. They're doing a bunch of stuff that they think they're supposed to be doing, or things that somehow became important, or they're doing habitually in the business. And so in order to create that fertile ground you're talking about, it usually requires a lot of removal. It's we're going to take a lot of stuff out that's distracting you, and really look at what I like to do with gym owners and just coaches in general is brainwash them. And what I mean by brainwash, I mean wash the mind, get it free of all the clutter of their preconceived notions of what a business like this is supposed to look like. And say, even if you already have an existing business, let's start over from scratch. Let's look at your personal vision that you have for your life, and and how the business is going to serve that vision, and how you want to be able to serve your clients and all that. Forget that you have memberships, forget that you have clients, forget all of this. And let's do the math on this. Let's really reverse engineer it. And so sometimes we're not that far off already, and we just need to make some tweaks to the existing business. And sometimes it means restructuring everything. And so it really, really requires unlearning some things in order to create that fertile ground.
So before the money is there, then it's a matter of establishing the vision. And then once the vision is there for what you want to achieve, it's making sure that you're extremely efficient with your time and your focus. And perhaps even for some amount of time, injecting your energy unsustainably in order to create the environments that will then bring in the energy that will allow you to pull back on the dial and have it run without you unsustainably spending yourself.
Yeah, and being realistic about that too. I check in on myself at times. I'm making a big push in the business, and I go, I know that this behavior is going to work for about 3 weeks, and then I'm going to have to let off the gas. Like I know it consciously. The old patterns and what a lot of coaches find themselves in is doing it unconsciously, burning themselves out and just continuing to do it over and over and over again. I find that there's four steps to being focused with your time and doing what's effective. Is the first step is having the vision, and the vision informs the strategy, and the strategy informs the priority, and then there's the last step is the execution. And so the thing is the people, we were all raised by our parents and by a school system. I say most people were. And so you have to consider the first 20, maybe 30 years of your life, you were trained to execute someone else's priorities at the youngest age. And then they let you start creating your own priorities a bit. You get to college, maybe you get to like fiddle with the strategy a little bit, but it's inside this really tight container. And then you go get a job. And so the vision, strategy, priority, execution, these are all skills. And so most people they're babies when it comes to the skill of vision and strategy. And so it really does, we got to approach the vision and strategy conversation as novices, being a white belt, and go, okay, I don't know how to do this, and I got to practice doing it. And I see a lot of people, they get hung up on the strategy and vision part because they don't know how to do it, or they're afraid that once they set it, they're going to have to do it for the rest of their life. And it's like, no, you can change this tomorrow if you want. This may be a great strategy. But getting people comfortable with the idea that they do create their own vision, they are in charge of their strategy and how to do that. A lot of times that's just, it's so new that it does take some work to unlearn, I say unlearn that you're incapable of doing that.
So Mike, you said two really powerful things. I have a question for you about them, and then I want to pivot to how we make sure the world knows what our vision is for our business so they can decide to step into it. The first thing you said was you start off by doing simple math. You ask people where they want to be and what they want to do to, like, what they're interested in doing to get there. I'm curious if you run into people not knowing what is possible and therefore setting their bar lower than maybe they are capable of. And then I want to ask you to move into basically everybody who patronizes a business knows that business needs to make money to survive and to thrive. And good customers want to pay for that business. I don't like it when places give me discounts just because I'm someone they know. Like that's how you go out of business. So would you speak to the first one, and then we can start talking about how people can let the world know who they are?
Okay, what was the first one again?
What do you do for people who set the bar too low because they have no experience and no education?
Yeah, the bar being too low is super common. I had a client recently, he set the goal of making $100,000 annually in his coaching business. Mm-hmm. And first it was 10
generating
years.
It or netting it?
Just gross.
Okay.
And he's 10-year vision. And my coaches and I looked at each other like, oh, this guy's in for a fun surprise. and then we go, is that really a 10-year? And he got it down to a 3-year. And what we did is we really challenged him on what we're always doing is we're always gauging their nervous system and their comfortability with it. And so when they're setting goals, and money is a very emotional topic for people. So if something's going to trigger somebody, it's setting money goals. Mm-hmm. And so, he got it down to 3 years, and we checked in with him and go, okay, how does that feel to say it? And we have a specific way. All right, write it out, and you're going to say it in front of the group. There's a group of us on a coaching call. He's like, ooh, that made me a little nervous. I'm like, how nervous? Scale of 1 to 10. And so what we do is we always laugh because people will set a 3-year goal and they'll hit it in 3 months or in 6 months. And we have a common saying. It's like your 10-year goal is actually a 1-year goal, but you don't know it yet. That's good for you. And so we really, what we don't want to do is we don't want to overwhelm the system. So just like training, we don't want to push them and say, oh, that $100,000 annually goal, you should set that for the next year. And if we can tell if they start, they start getting short of breath, they start, getting confused. It's like, okay, we don't need to confuse you. So it's, but yeah, people set their goals way too low all the time. And every once in a while we get somebody who's got some really grand goals where we actually need to dial them back a little bit every once in a while. It's like, yeah, you're not going to do that with this business. You can do that, but $100 million a year in the next 5 years, you might want to find a different industry. Not that it's not possible, but you can usually gauge where someone's experience level is at and go, okay. But yeah, most people set them too low.
So now, how do we transition that from, let's just go into gym ownership, so that the owner and the person watching this, who is the potential member, can both feel good about gym owner talking about what they do, how they charge for it, services that they offer, where the member who hasn't joined yet is like, you know what? That's worth it. I want to pay that for that. And where the gym owner can be unadulterated in what they actually offer and specific enough and general enough for people to step into it on social medias.
Yeah. First thing, especially for gym owners, the first thing that we do is I say, hey, stop selling gym memberships. And they always look at me funny. And because gym memberships are a commodity, especially, if we're looking at CrossFit, there's people will move to a new town and they may be familiar and they start price shopping. And so the first thing that I want them to do is position the conversation differently from the very, very beginning. And that is that you sell coaching. You're a coach, you're selling coaching. When COVID hit, what I recognized with our clients who were behaving as gym owners is they suffered. The clients who were behaving as coaches who own gyms and were selling coaching packages actually flourished, and they got more members during COVID. And what I mean by that is thinking as a coach instead of a gym owner is anytime you go into a market where people are doing price comparison, you've entered into a commodities market. And that is that the perception of value of the individual that's shopping is assuming that all of these things are about the same. But that's not true. If you're selling a coaching package, someone comes in and goes, oh, I want to join, I want a gym membership. And it's like, okay, well, first, we have a process. You have to go through a goal setting process. And what you do is you take them through a goal setting process that's going to be, and have a conversation with them that's unlike anything they're going to have at another facility. And I like to spend an hour with a client, like, hey, you're going to sign up. Let's sit down for an hour and really hammer out this goal setting. And not this like, I want to lose 10 pounds goal setting. Like, what do you want out of your life? Become a coach and go, I'm getting into your life. I'm here to help you reach your goals, and I'll do anything to get there. And, when I remember when I was first coaching, I thought, if it's not movement and nutrition, I'm not going to touch it because it's none of my business. But then I saw my clients not getting results because they were working 60, 70 hour weeks, making $40,000 a year, sitting in a cubicle under fluorescent lights all day. They were stressed to the max. And they're selling, this guy I'm thinking about right now is selling pesticide, selling poison, sitting under fluorescent lights in a cubicle all day, killing himself for $40,000 a year. I was like, I don't care what diet you're on. You gotta quit this job. And like really getting comfortable with, I don't like as a coach coming in and telling people exactly what to do. I like to say, get them there through questions, just being curious and getting them and having them get to the realization themselves. And so when you do that, when someone first walks into your gym and you start asking them questions about what they want, and then you talk to them about how you can support them to get there, and it goes way beyond, you know, your hour-long workout. It goes beyond picking that food up out of the fridge over there. We have an online community. We have all these different things where we can support you. We have actual accountability. You'll get a text message from your coach. You're assigned a coach when you get to the gym. That they take care of your customer service. If you have a billing issue, you talk to them, all this stuff. And so now you're building a relationship with this person. And so if someone's price shopping, if I own a gym, and I would love to run a gym right now. There's like part of me that was like, I want to go run a gym because I know I could crush it, is because people would walk into my doors and I would greet them, and I would train all my staff to do the same. And I would take them through this goal setting process. And I would say, you know what, go shop around, go to the gym down the road, go see someone who's cheaper, whatever. But I know they're going to come back, because the experience I was able to give them in just the conversation around what it is that I offer is going to be really refreshing.
And how does a gym share that online? Because one of the biggest things people are looking for is, this is what we do in person. We're way better, but how do we share that on Instagram? I mean, that's where the world is happening, right?
Yeah. I've seen you post some stuff about niching, and I've definitely got my ideas about niching. I work more in the online coaching space. I do work with gym owners, but mostly online coaching space. So there's like the opportunity niche is greater there, because the thing about a gym is you're geographically niched already. And so you can't actually niche down too far when you're already when you have a brick and mortar. So I would have to know what they're posting already. It's hard to say. It's not about your posts. So for me, it's like I have some general guidelines of like, all right, you want to create value on your posts. You want to make sure that people are learning something that they're going to get something out of it immediately. You want to post testimonials. You want to make sure that they know that it's real people that are in the gym and all that. But it comes down to me, for me, is in the direct outreach. It's in the DMs. It's in the Facebook Messenger. It's in the, when you're posting something and someone comments, following up with them. I'm tracking every person who interacts with me on Instagram, and I have a relationship with them. And I am, I got my spreadsheets and stuff, and I know who's who, and I know where they're at and in their journey. And I ask them a lot of questions. So it doesn't really, the same process they're going to have when they walk through my door is a continuation of what's happening in the DMs online. So you can post really good content, that everything's always changing. You can say, oh, we could post more reels or whatever it is that the algorithm likes. There's obviously just learning how to write copy is a thing. But I really think what I've seen in the last year, direct outreach through the DMs, through the PMs, that's where the gold is at.
Well, what you're speaking about is being a human. And instead of taking the follower for granted, they make a comment, they talk to you, you actually respond. And when they go to the other gym, they're like, hey, this is really cool. And they say, yeah, cool. If you want to sign up, click this link. It's like, okay, I'm not going there.
Yeah. The just shooting a link over or thinking that someone's going to end up on your profile page and hit the link in your bio. Yeah, good luck.
Right.
It ain't going to happen. There's so many people that would never interact with me who, when they follow me, I shoot them a message and say, hey, thanks for following me. What brought you to my Instagram? That's it. Super simple. And then I've had people come in and end up being mastermind members. They'll pay me $24,000 for the year. From just because I reached out. And when I look at what they were doing after talking to them, I realized they were like they were out there looking for 10 different coaches. Oh, I'm looking for a leadership coach. I'm looking for all these different types of coaches. I'm looking for all this type of help. And I may have been the only one that actually DM'd them, for one. And then not only that, I didn't DM them a pitch. Everybody gets those pitches in your DMs. They suck. It's like, I noticed that you could be doing a lot better at this, and I can help you. I got the secret sauce. Lead with questions like, hey, how's it? What are your goals right now? I mean, and it really varies from person to person. I look at their account and I find out what is it that they're interested in. Where might there be crossover? And like you said, it's about being human. I think about my Instagram as I got a store in the town square, and I make the best boots around, and I stand out in front of my shop and I make friends with everybody in town. They're not buying boots today, but you know what? Maybe in 6 months they'll swing by my shop when it's time.
Yeah, and if they want to buy boots, they're going to buy them from a friend. Anything else you want to ask, Mike, before we head to the gym?
Nothing to ask, but another thing to mention is that, Mike, in asking all of those questions, by the time you get far enough to make a determination whether or not you think you can help someone, you also are able to make a better determination around whether or not you even want to.
Totally. Yeah. I'd say about 2/3 of the people I end up in DMs with, I'm not going to mess with that one. They're not for me. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits there.
Throwback. And then, the interesting thing about that is you have to have a level of confidence that you can attract the next one to be willing to throw the last one back in.
Yeah. I mean, if you do what I'm talking about doing, and if you get really curious about the people who you're interacting with, it'll present itself. And I think that I have so many students that they're introverted. They're scared to talk to people in person. They're scared to talk to people online. And we just, week after week, just do it anyway, do it anyway, do it anyway, do it anyway. Next thing you know, they start making sales, and then they're sold out, and then they're going, oh, and there's a period of time, like I said earlier, like where you just got to inject the energy. And some of this is like, sometimes you just got to inject the, I'm afraid to do this. I don't feel confident. I don't understand how this works or why it'll work, because there's some type of disconnection. And when it starts working, then, it's a lot easier to believe.
Mike, thank you for jumping on with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Give him some plugs. So we are very selective about companies that when our clients ask us where they can go get additional support from, that we will feel very comfortable sending them. If you're watching this now or on delay, we send people Mike's way all the time. The Strong Coach, for the soul. I forget the first name of it. The mastermind.
Training Camp for the Soul.
Training Camp for the Soul. Something that I believe Mike is uniquely gifted at doing is connecting with people on the human level and bringing the business out of that, instead of applying the business tactics to all the people and asking the people to change to fit the business. So if that's the kind of stuff you're looking for, this guy right here, look no further.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. Show me how to work out. Can I take this thing off?
You can take that off now.
You can take your bougie headpiece off. Your earpiece? No, you can't do that.
You want to assume the position over there? You walk way past the camera.
Time's up there.
Oh, nice. Got it.
All right. So
Wait easy, Tiger.
all right, I'm gonna stand around and wait for it.
I definitely thought he said you could start.
I said get in front of the camera.
They can't hear you.
They can
So-
hear me through Larry.
Apparently now they can hear us through that. From
I'm just gonna
across the
stand
room.
awkwardly
But
until Clary
when
says
I
go.
talk, I have to get right up in here and talk really, really close.
I'm
to
just trying to get you to not talk.
Can I be a dancing monkey now?
3,
Okay.
2.
Hey guys. So today's gym segment is going to be all about making sure that we're balancing the kind of loads that we're placing across our joints. There are a variety of speeds, intensities, and quicknesses that we can use when we train. And all too often we find that people are not balancing how they load their tendons every single week. What we can start to do across our gym program is make sure that our training provides us with different kinds of stimuli that are going to manage our tendon health and maybe even improve it. Two really, really easy examples of this with respect to tendon health are opposite sides of a spectrum. Our tendons are in a variety of different positions with respect to super, super healthy and degenerative at all times. and they move in and out depending on the kinds of loads and the frequencies and the intensity that we place on them. Two very, very different loads, ballistic and mechanical, are going to provide totally different stimuli for us. Now, if we are thinking about very, very high level athletics with a lot of plyometric and bouncing and jumping and cutting, it behooves us to train ballistically. Our tendons and our fascia, especially if they're already heavy, will respond in such a way that they adapt to be better at being springy. However, depending on the state of our tendons already, that kind of loading could either aggravate or worsen the state of our tendon. And we can make sure that we put certain nutrients back in that we have not been getting with mechanical loading. By mechanical loading, instead of just ballistic, bouncy, dynamic stuff, mechanical loading implies heavy, slow, controlled movement, where there isn't any jerking or force that is going through the tendon, but where the tendon and the muscle, the whole unit, are slowly and smoothly allowing for load to be placed across that unit as it lengthens and as it contracts without any sharp, jerky changes in the rate of force that are put through it. So an example of a ballistic movement is a pogo hop or a run or any kind of plyometrics. An example of a mechanical movement is a slow, controlled squat or slow controlled press. You can use this kind of mechanical loading in cycles as preventative measures before you have some crazy event. So for example, if you have a workout event or some sort of exercise race or whatever it is going to be, that is going to involve a ton of ballistic loading on your joints, you can preemptively create protective stimulus that goes into your joints and your tendons for 4, 6, 8, even 10 weeks before that event is going to occur, to soup your tendons up to be able to handle with much greater resilience all of the crazy forces you are going to place upon it. Another way to do it is to just simply sprinkle it into your programming. So if there is going to be 1 to 2 days of ballistic loading in your programming, you could include 1 to 2 days of mechanical loading into your programming to make sure that your tendons are balanced, and wherever it is on that spectrum of health, it is staying in a zone that is healthy for it. We're going to bring in our super athlete for today, Dr. Shawn Pasteur, to demonstrate 2 examples of movements. Now, for those of you who have seen Dr. Shawn move, you already know how athletic he is. He's not going to show off today. He's just going to make sure he can demonstrate some of this good stuff.
Do we need to take some weight off?
No, we don't need to take any weight off for this.
I think we probably should.
This is going to be his, are you really going to do that?
I'll lift this.
All right.
I don't even know warm-up to hit this.
So for simplicity's sake, to demonstrate what we're talking about, let's say that someone has had some kind of reactive tendon spicy feelings in their knees.
What does reactive mean? Did you tell them that already?
I haven't. Reactive implies that something happens, and then in the wake of that thing happening, the thing doesn't feel good. It is reacting to whatever stimulus was placed upon it. So this is, you go and you do 100 box jumps, and your knees feel super saucy the next day. Saucy is not a good thing in this case. Dr. Shawn's going to load up this barbell in the back rack. And an example of this mechanical loading, or what we'll call heavy, slow resistance, might include, let's say that this weight is 80% of what Shawn can do. We're going to choose a weight that is an 80% stimulus. He's going to make sure that he reports no more than a 4 out of 10 irritation anywhere, especially in the joint that we want to intentionally load. And the last rule is, Shawn, you got to do this with a 3-second down, 3-second up tempo. Let's do 5 reps. So Shawn is going to go through his range of motion, whatever range of motion is prescribed as the coach. You don't need to pause in the bottom. Let's just get right in and let's get right out, keeping it smooth. And he's going to make sure that there are 3 smooth seconds, a little slower, that he's taking to get all the way down. And then he's coming right back up with the same smoothness. Thank you. Smoothness. 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 Say that 5 times. The forces that you're able to create along the knee here are going to allow the tendon to build. It is going to stimulate that tendon to become more resilient to the loads that you are placing across it. Another example of this movement.
Question for you.
Yeah, please.
The 8 out of 10 should be at the low.
I'm going to go over all of those rules.
Got it.
I got it. The next one is going to be, let's say we have an upper body exercise, and let's say someone doesn't want to load a heavy weight in a position that's going to prevent them from being able to really focus on the issue. You can load up this landmine in a landmine press. Let's just go simple, feet right underneath you. Just like you did with the squat, if you have someone whose shoulder is getting aggravated or spicy after certain kind of exercises, you can place mechanical loading and dose that into their programming with the same kind of guideline here. So Shawn, let's go up with 3 seconds. Let's not pause in the top. Let's just come right back down over the course of 3 seconds and just send it right back up, keeping it cycling in very, very, very smooth movement. Perfect. A lot of the times we are either consciously or unconsciously crashing or falling into positions and not controlling the kinds of forces that cross these tendons. And if there's a lot of jerkiness and ballistic loading that is accumulating in them, we can balance it out with this kind of mechanical loading, which is going to keep tendons happier. Here's a sample of a cycle that you guys can use over the course of 10 weeks, either preventatively or in response to symptoms that you've been experiencing. Heavy slow resistance, or abbreviated by HSR, is a perfect way for you to start including this mechanical loading to make your tendons happy, resilient. This is a 10-week cycle. You guys can do 4, 6, or 8 weeks, but to create cellular change, 10 weeks can go a very, very long way for you. Weeks 1 and 2 are going to include 3 sets of 15 reps. Weeks 3 and 4 will be 3 by 12. Weeks 5 and 6 will be 3 by 10. 7 and 8 will be 4 by 8. 9 and 10 will be 4 sets of 6. Now, here are the rules for HSR. Rule number 1. It has to be 80% effort, or an RPE, a rate of perceived exertion, of 8 out of 10 according to the trainee. So it doesn't matter what the weight is. It doesn't matter who's done it at this weight or what that person is doing. It matters what feels like an 8 out of 10 for you by the time the set is over. It's got to be an 8 out of 10 effort. We want this to be heavy. So for people who are looking at this stuff and they're like, I don't want to do that boring rehab or prehab stuff, you can get really, really strong using this. Really strong. 8 out of 10 effort. Rule number 2, it has to be below a 4 out of 10 pain. We do not want you exceeding a 4 out of 10 discomfort if you are going through these movements, because you might be causing more harm than good if you are. We want to make sure it is below a 4 out of 10 pain, especially if you are using this as a rehabilitative measure. The last one is that your tempo has to be 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up, no time spent in the bottom, no jerking in and out. Make it smoothly in, smoothly out. And this tempo is going to ensure that your tendon is getting the stimulus that it needs to grow stronger. Dr. Shawn, anything you want to add to this?
Is it okay for me to talk out here?
Not great.
Stop doing that. Now we're getting all fingers. We'll wait a moment.
You want to go for a while? We'll go back to the table.
What do you mean?
Want to go back to the desk?
Like if you have a lot of things to say.
No, not much to say. We do this with gyms we work with. If they participate in the CrossFit Open, 8 weeks ahead of the Open. Why? Because we know that members in your gym are going to be going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. A lot. They're going to be pressing and moving as fast as they possibly can. And when they don't like the score that they got on Thursday night, they're going to do it again on Saturday morning. And when that doesn't go well, one last time so that they can take 9,462nd in their region, in their age group, instead of 9,463rd. We know how that goes. Build some resiliency in the tendons before we get there. We don't have to deal with the problems that come after.
All right, good talk.
We're getting cute to go back there. Also, works better than this. These are okay, but
What are we talking about?
we're comfortable.
What works better than that?
HSR.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So, any questions that you have, please feel free to ask them right now, as we're here to answer them for you. Once again, I want to remind you, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just walk through my shot. You walked right through my shot.
Claire's experimenting with being on camera more.
He is.
He's feeling saucy.
He
and
is.
fun.
It's one of those, like,
I know.
he doesn't want people to know he technically really wants to be on camera, but
It's how he passively aggressively
yes,
gets on camera.
like an extra on set.
Whatever could you mean?
You're not on yet. There you go. Get out. Yeah, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow at Larry the Human on Instagram. At Dr. Shawn Pasteur on Instagram. Anywhere you can find an Active Life on Instagram.
Not everywhere.
At Active Life Professional, at Active
right.
Life RX.
Let's start with those two.
And comment on this thread.
Well, let's be clear. They could hear, Sheila could hear me when I was yelling at you guys for about starting, not being in front of the camera over there.
Great. Well, now everyone knows what we have to deal with every day.
It's insanity.
You get to deal with.
That's fair.
How's your earpiece working out?
Yeah, you look great.
It's actually off. I haven't heard anything in a while.
Which is why you can take it off as. Whenever the guest part is over, you can take it off.
I feel like a Secret Service member. I'm keeping it in.
Let's dive into that. Let's get some Halloween costumes from you.
Halloween costume? Like what were you for Halloween?
There are 3 that we'll get canceled for, so I'll tell you about one.
I think almost all of them are getting me canceled today. And I'll tell you all of them. I was a bullfighter. Had the mustache joint on.
Compared to mine, you wouldn't get canceled.
Oh, we're going to one up.
Mine was more cancel worthy than yours.
Well, it's because you wore yours in college. I wore mine in elementary school.
It's true. It's exactly true.
I know it's true.
Okay.
So.
That's it? That's all
I don't see any questions coming through.
No, bullfighter.
I asked about Halloween costumes.
Oh, Halloween costumes. So I was a bullfighter. I was a mariachi band member. I was Abraham Lincoln, but I actually looked like a Hasidic rabbi.
Okay.
Abraham
Lincoln was definitely Jewish.
What? Oh, for sure.
He definitely
Closet
converted
Jew.
in the
closet Jewish guy. We know because we're Jewish. And then I was a Native American. What else was I? Those are the things that would be like, you're really appropriating that culture. And then I did things like I was a baseball one year. That wasn't so bad.
That's when you were in college, right?
That was, it was 4th grade or 5th grade.
Did you and your sister ever do like brother-sister costumes?
No.
They did plug-in socket costumes.
What does that mean? That's not funny.
Okay, this is how we ended it last week too, was with some hot takes.
Okay.
Hot take. What is and is not a lacrosse ball for?
Ooh. Okay.
Controversial, King.
Oh, by the way, apparently, learned this the other day, it's not for throwing at your mom while she's doing dishes.
That depends on who your mom is and how athletic she is and how much she likes her dishes.
So
how hard you throw it.
I play a game in my house called Ninja, and
Larry's avoiding the question.
sorry, no, that's being insanely distracted is what it is. What was the question? Lacrosse.
I'm also curious about you playing Ninja at home by yourself.
You can't play by yourself. That's the whole point.
Night crawlers?
No. Well, it sounds like we want to know about Ninja.
Well, now we do.
So Ninja is where you throw an object at someone, lob it in their general direction. It could cause for a reach, and they have to catch it. The rules are it can't be something sharp, and they can't already be holding something in their hand. But whatever else they're doing, you say Ninja. They don't have to be looking. They could be facing around. I say Ninja, and the person has to know they got to turn around. There's gonna be an object flying at them that they have to catch. Last one was.
Have you ever thrown yourself at somebody?
No one in my house was strong enough to catch me, and I don't feel like landing on the tiles. If I were with you, though, I would throw myself at you.
Thank you.
Last one was a 25-pound bag of rice at Rhiannon when she was putting the dish rag away.
All right.
Lacrosse ball.
So lacrosse ball. Here's the thing about a lacrosse ball. The best place to use it, like the absolute, it works every single time, is on a lacrosse field.
Yeah, really well on the lacrosse field.
Always good on a lacrosse field. Now, in the gym, it does have some utility. It does a really good job of creating a momentary window of increased range of motion, decreased pain, that you can use to train weak ranges of motion because you can't access them without this creating the reflexive response. If you create a reflexive response with a piece of equipment like this lacrosse ball, and then train it properly in that time, you can make that response permanent by creating strength, stability, and neurological control in ranges of motion that you could not have accessed without the lacrosse ball.
Is it okay if I provide a brief example of that?
Sure.
Okay. So let's say my test is kind of limited going overhead like this. If I can use a softball to allow for range of motion.
Different sport.
What did I say?
Completely different sport.
Lacrosse ball. To use a range of motion that allows me to do this, and then I can train a better overhead position with it, and I can do that repeatedly. It could allow for proprioception and strength and length and control at the shoulder that allows you to now access that freely in a much better position. Is that the kind of thing you're describing?
100%. Yeah. It's important to note the likelihood that you're going to get permanent results from using a lacrosse ball and then not doing anything with the range of motion that you created for the moment, it's extremely low. Very, very unlikely. That does not mean we don't use this tool. It means we understand the purpose of the tool, we use it properly, we don't overemphasize it, and we don't throw it out simply because it's not a permanent changer itself. Any other hot take questions you'd like?
I just have a good dad joke. If,
A dad joke.
Based on the Halloween costume thing.
I thought he was going to say based on the Holocaust.
If,
That wouldn't be good.
If your wife or significant other is ever in the kitchen and they start getting really annoyed at you or angry, throw a towel on them and then go, well, now you're super angry.
Because it's a cape.
No, I get it. I'm thinking instead, what if they had the patience to say, hold on 1 second, and tie it around their neck and say, now you're super angry. Because putting a towel over their head, no superheroes walk around with a cape draped over their heads.
You know, maybe I didn't pitch it right. Maybe your execution would have been better than mine.
You know what?
Don't we both be dead at the end of the day?
You know what gets a similar rise out of people? Telling them that something is wrong with the live stream that they know isn't right with the live stream and having them just lose their shit.